Live in Mundelein, Illinois, not far from Chicago. This was another spot hit hard by storms. We understand there is damage. And Chris, I guess first question is, do you know, is everyone safe?
Yes, so no reported injuries. Everyone has been able to get out and get some of their belongings, obviously.
Across the Sierra with significant snow that's going to be falling at a intense rate. Maybe 2 or 3 inches per hour, plus those winds we were talking about. This is what's to come in the west here. It starts late tonight, but really gets its act going more on later Thursday into Friday and into even Saturday. 5 to 6 feet of snow. I mean, that's upper echelon snow. That is not the kind of snow you get very often. And most of those big totals will be at the highest of elevations. But still, it's a significant snow event here. We're talking feet that will be measured here and impactful, again, across the Sierra, the kind of event that will have you stuck at home. You will not want to go out and venture out into this kind of storm. Now, right now, we've got kind of phase 1 of the system up here coming into the Pacific Northwest. The energy, the true wind energy with it actually is yet to dive down, coming in over the Aleutians. It will come in here across the Pacific and move into the Pacific Northwest and then sink south here, really, I think, crossing the Bay Area into the Sierra. That's where we get all the most intense wind energy. But, of course, the precip will be spreading out, and we'll see that really starting tomorrow and then really continuing on Friday. Blizzard warning is up here for the Sierra. I mean, look, you need to plan to be home. I would say all day Friday, probably some of Saturday, and then we'll see how it goes after that. But this is going to be that kind of storm where, we're going to be looking at intense snowfall rates. The winds are going to be very gusty. That's how we'll get to those blizzard conditions, easily up over 35 miles per hour, which is all you need for blizzard. We're talking more like 50, 60, maybe even 80 to 100 mile per hour winds that will be blowing that snow around, and then the rain spreading down the coast this weekend, all the way down back into Los Angeles and San Diego. Now, places like Los Angeles might feel like they've been dunked in the bath with how much rain is. When Chris, here we saw yesterday your perspective of being out there in the warmer weather, and now you're all bundled up with a hat. I don't know if you had the chance to talk to anyone about that yet this morning, just the temperature change that has happened.
We haven't talked. We talked to folks yesterday.
Chris, thank you. Stay warm out there. Now, we do have these seesawing temperatures here, not just reserved for the dry. You're sort of constantly thirsty.
Yes.
You notice that change, and especially just compared to what you had 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This really tells the story. This is the temperature change over the last 24 hours, and looking at the map right now, it looks like OKC nearly 40 degrees colder than it was at this time yesterday.
It's also quite warm in the east, too. I mean, Baltimore's 14 degrees warmer than this time yesterday, which was warm enough, to be honest. But now you're going to have the warm up today, but then the colder snap does come in. The short-lived cold snap.
Yeah, exactly. So today we've got, again, most of these areas here across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, kind of 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s farther on off towards the south. You'll see how the temperatures begin to slide towards the south and the east. Now, the core of the cold here kind of moderates as it moves south and eastbound. So we won't be talking 20s in Atlanta, but it will certainly chill down and feel much cooler.
I mean, you're still losing 20 or 30 degrees compared to your warmest temps. And you'll especially feel it in the overnights, too, because it has been quite mild overnight readings. All right, Atlanta, it happens today. The front comes through later on. You'll notice the change just because it won't be balmy like it was, too. So there's kind of two pieces to this drop. It's the temperature itself, but the dew point drop will make a difference.
Yeah, you notice you won't be able to kind of feel the air this time around. Then we see the quick change. Look at this by the weekend. Ridge now in the east as opposed to a trough that we're finding now. And the numbers go right back up. Look at the 70s into Minnesota.
Minneapolis. Whoa. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're back above average. By Sunday, 236 million above average across the east yet again. Now, the west is a different story, and we'll be talking more about your forecast coming up, in which will hit the tracks across the south later this week. Our virtual view giving us a glimpse of what it could look like around Railroad Park in Birmingham, starting later today.
Yeah, coming in here, this round of wet weather here was going to move its way out tonight, giving way to clear skies for your Thursday.
But we've got another system right on its heels, setting us up for a soggy end of the work week and actually into the weekend, too.
Yeah, so definitely be prepared for that. Some grayer skies are on the way here for you as we head through the next several days. In fact, when you look at the forecast here in Birmingham, your drier day, Thursday, don't expect too much sunshine. I'll say that 3 times fast.
I know.
But look at the rest of the week.
No worries, you're not going to get it.
There is no sun, right?
Yeah.
All the way through the early part of next week, things are staying on the wet side.
Yeah, now temperature-wise, though, you're mild. You see that. So we do get a drop in temperatures with the cold front that will be coming through later today. You see that, and Greg was talking about the risk of some storms along it. We've been watching these storms in northern Alabama right now. Maybe some winds gusting over 60 miles per hour. That's the most likely threat.
Yeah, so that's prompted some of these severe warnings here in northwest Alabama. We've seen the storms come through the Florence area, now continuing to press east from there. Another warning in place as well. Again, the main threat is going to be damaging wind gusts right now with these storms moving through northwest Alabama.
Yeah, we're also watching this down into Mississippi as well. There's that northeastern corner of the state. Again, watching this come through, likely gusty winds. There have been some reports in Mississippi already of trees down because of this line of thunderstorms, so it has that potential.
We're getting some rain, of course, with it too. Not a ton. The amount of rainfall that we see generally will be, I'd say, less than an inch in most of these areas, but a lot of wind across this area in the south. Wind advisories in place for the day and into tonight.
Oh boy, that wind has been relentless, hasn't it? So we're going to see the winds pretty gusty ahead of it. Coming from the south, actually, it's a warming wind, but Savannah, Charlotte, winds gusting maybe 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, so lawn furniture out there certainly could get whipped around by some of those winds. We'll eventually see the line of storms push offshore here once we get into, I'd say, late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So drier behind all this. But you see, it's still going to be a little breezy, not as strong with the winds.
Different direction. Now the wind comes from the northwest. And so we'll be watching for that. You know, this forecast getting into the weekend is going to be different. Not as much in the way of maybe storms, but rain coming in and another washout.
Absolutely. So definitely have the indoor plans ready here for you as you head out about for the week.
In the west, temperatures aren't expected to get past freezing here in Jackson, Wyoming. Just picked up a little snow, actually, at the summit of the mountain here. We picked up 5 inches of snow. But a winter storm watch now goes into effect tomorrow night as another winter storm looks to drop several inches of snow coming in. So the cold and the snow is in the west, and this next system that comes in starts late tonight, really into tomorrow, and then Friday and Saturday. This next one might be the biggest of the season. We do get a little rain out ahead of it and some gusty winds, too, in places like Seattle. And you see what's coming our way right now. But this thing out here in the Pacific, dip it over the Aleutians, this is the big wind energy that's going to come in and really bring it all in terms of the rain, the very strong winds, the snow, and with that, we'll have blizzard conditions with that snow in the Sierra Mountains. You can see that forecast tomorrow, already getting windy in San Francisco and the Bay Area, San Jose. We'll see the snowfall really adding up. It's not often you see this much snow in the forecast, even in the mountains, 5 to 6 feet of snow. Can you imagine? We're talking 70 plus inches. Yes, that is a possibility, especially up at, above maybe 6,000 feet. But, even below that, there's going to be significant snow, and the wind is going to be so strong at all levels that we are going to see blizzard conditions. Blizzard warnings are already up. Folks are being urged to take this very seriously, being planned to be home throughout the duration of the event. You do not want to drive. You don't want to get stuck on roads. Make sure you have enough supplies to stay put. We've got the rain coming in again starting today. And then everything starts spreading down the coast tomorrow. And then the big energy comes in as we get into Friday. You'll see the rain in San Francisco, Sacramento. We'll get the rain spreading down to Los Angeles and down towards San Diego into the weekend. And all the while, we've got the snow spreading in across the Intermountain West in Nevada, in Utah, back in Wyoming, around Jackson, and back into Colorado, too, here. And then another system coming in by Sunday night. So a very active pattern here. Now, in the east, the story has been so much about the warm, Alex, but man, the cold it hurts out there.
Explode. You're just in a matter of a few hours, right?
Yeah.
Late last night, early in the morning, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning or so, this fire was around 300,000 acres. Now it's up over 500,000.
Yeah, I mean, nearly double. It was, I was watching this as the 5th largest wildfire, and then within 2 hours, now it's the 2nd.
Yes. And the largest, when you look at the month of February, it is the largest.
Yeah.
So, this continues to burn right now. And the other thing that's concerning, 0% contained.
Yeah. And the weather, a big factor, too. When just looking at the weather yesterday, we had winds gusting 30, 40, 50 plus miles per hour all day long.
Wow, amazing. So with that being the case, there's no doubt a lot of burning happening. Things are getting burned. That's leading to power outages right now across the state. We've got that in the Panhandle, number of folks that are without power at this time. And you could kind of pick out the smoke from that fire yesterday on the satellite.
Yeah, you could see it. And this front, again, a key factor. Winds changed direction and just actually that helped enlarge the fire because of the front coming through.
strong wind gusts, heavy rain, and maybe a chance of a tornado through the late morning and early afternoon hours.
Yeah, busy radar still at this time. We've got storms lined up stretching from the northeast. We've had severe thunderstorm warnings from Pennsylvania all the way down to Mississippi.
Yeah, so this line is certainly remaining pretty active out there. You know, right now, several families are counting their blessings here to have escaped last night's severe weather.
Joins us live in Mundelein, Illinois, not far from Chicago. Another spot hit hard by the storms. And Chris, you've been showing us some of the damage out there, but also just the big change in temperature that has been affecting the area. The flash freeze you talked about, too.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, weather whiplash. Hard to believe, especially after.
Here, this is most likely going to be the most significant storm of the season. This is the forecast for snowfall yet to come from this storm. 5 to 6 feet of snow. It's not often you see that much snow, even in mountain locations. 6 feet, 72 inches. That's a lot at once. And that is in the forecast here. Big moisture coming in, big wind. Then there's blizzard warnings that go along with that snow as well. But it's very widespread. And we're going to get a foot and a half in the mountains of Wyoming. We'll get another 5 to 8 inches, maybe even 8 to 12 in the northern Wasatch, and more snow coming back to Colorado as well. Rainfall, too, is going to be significant. And along the coast, a couple areas, 3 to 5. There'll be snow, too, in the mountains along the coast of Oregon and down into California, but rainfall spreading all the way down to Los Angeles, with maybe an inch or two of rainfall possible there. Now, right now we're getting just the initial stages of everything. A little bit of rain coming into Seattle. It'll be a rainy and windy day there. The main energy is still yet to dive in. We're going to see this moving down over the Aleutians. This is the energy. It's going to move across the Pacific and then come in, and actually right around the Bay Area and then pointed right across California at the Sierra is where most of the wind, or the biggest of the wind, sets up. You can see a forecast already windy tomorrow in San Francisco as the rain moves in, and that's why blizzard warnings are up for the mountains. This is the kind of situation where you need to be prepared to stay put. Do not travel. The snowfall rates are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 inches per hour. It's not out of the question. Plus, with winds that could gust up to 100 miles per hour, you do not want to get stuck out in this weather here. It would be life-threatening. And we're going to be watching this start tomorrow and then really pick up on Friday, and then probably lingering into Saturday too here, and then we'll just see where we stand after all is done. The rain itself will also be a challenge, and we'll see that rain, as we know, causing problems all the way down into Los Angeles and even San Diego. Alex.
All right, well, let's work. I do want to ask, are we sure at this point that it was a microburst, or was it a tornado? Do we know if the National Weather Service is going to be out doing any surveying?
I haven't got a full confirmation from the National Weather Service, but from my understanding.
For being there and analyzing that. Obviously, the temperature change, too, is big news here. You were in a T-shirt yesterday. Now you're bundled up today. We're going to talk about these temperatures affecting many other communities, too, from the Midwest. Now the cold air diving into the South.
Yes, so a lot of us experience.
Ahead of the front and the storms, you actually have warmed up a bit today compared to yesterday. 15 degrees warmer in Boston, but look at the change behind the front.
I mean, this is pretty incredible. I mean, we're now 41 degrees in Oklahoma City, colder than it was at this time yesterday.
I mean, what a drop and what a change. And, you know, we are going to see the cooler temperatures, not as cold as what you're getting in Minneapolis, but cooler temperatures spreading east and spreading south. Fronts through Nashville. So,
yeah,
there you go.
So, yeah, those 60s and the 70s, we'll say goodbye to that here, at least for today. You'll notice how that cooler air does continue to sink and sag towards the south and the east. And we will certainly notice as we get into this evening, maybe you had some dinner plans from Birmingham to Atlanta into Charlotte. It's going to be much cooler for those dinner plans.
Yes, yes, yes. The front coming in, it's not just bringing a change in temperatures, but also a change in dew points. So you'll feel a difference in the air, too. It won't have that balmy feel like it's had the past 2 days.
Absolutely. So we take you into the ATL and 70s here through the afternoon. Watch these thunderstorms just in time for pickups, kids from school time. We'll have to watch for that. And then the numbers drop off and will be much chillier tonight.
But this returns. This looks a lot like what we just had. Another big ridge builds across the east. Temperatures warm back up. We're back to the 70s in Minneapolis and Chicago.
That's warm.
Yeah.
That is very warm. So, yeah, this chill down that we're experiencing, very short-lived. You'll notice here this weekend, look at the above-average highs. The population numbers getting up above 230 million.
All right, it looks like this. 69 in St. Louis, 59 in Minneapolis, back to 60 in Pittsburgh. And, yes, we'll be talking about record-breaking temperatures yet again.
Blasting by some of these records.
Yeah.
Oof.
Train will hit the tracks across the South this week, and our virtual view giving us a glimpse of what it looks like around Railroad Park in Birmingham later today. We've got those showers.
We do. Fortunately, we are protected in the circle here, so we don't get wet. But if you're outside of it, yeah, it's going to be a wet time out there with this line of showers and thunderstorms. We do get a bit of a break once that line comes through, but it may not last too long.
No, it's very short-lived. There might not even be this much sunshine, actually, because we have another system then right on its heels that is setting us up for a soggy end to the week and the weekend.
Oh, not fun at all, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the forecast here. We'll start off looking at that forecast through early next week here in Birmingham. And again, today's our thunderstorms, then the break Thursday. And as you mentioned, Jen, probably not going to see a ton of sunshine out there, but at least it'll be drier before we see the rain return.
Yeah, drier and cooler. And then, well, we do warm back up again by the weekend, but we get back into the rain. And that's a trend that we're going to see affect us throughout the South and East. Another wet weekend. But first, we got to get through this front.
Yes, which is right now sparking off some storms. You can see the line that extends from essentially parts of the Ohio Valley all the way down into central parts of the state of Mississippi. Along that line, we've seen some warnings fire up, including one now that is approaching the Huntsville area. We're under a severe thunderstorm warning there until about 9:45. Damaging wind gusts going to be the primary risk along that line as it continues to head on off towards the east.
There have been some reports from this line of at least some tree limbs coming down, some stronger wind gusts extending from Alabama into Mississippi. So certainly concerned about that as we watch this track east.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye on that. And we'll continue to march on off towards the east here. It looks like just a bit after 9:40 there on top of you there in Huntsville. Then we continue down the line off towards the south and west. Another warning here for us is for parts of Franklin County until about 10:15. Again, that will continue to press towards the east towards that 65 corridor.
And then, we get this out of here, and it's for the most part less than an inch of rain that we'll see in most spots. But we get into the end of the weekend, and there's more rain coming back through the entire South. This has been transforming into a so-called sponge city. This is where impermeable surfaces like concrete are replaced with permeable ones like dirt and plants.
So this really allows the city water managers to collect, treat, and reuse rainwater. And in a place like California that's had to deal with extreme drought, every drop is needed. Art Castro with LR. How's that water collected? Where is it treated? And what is it eventually used for?
Sure. Good morning. Happy to be here. So as you know, Southern California.
Have you been able to collect so far this season, for example?
Yeah. So for this season, we've captured roughly 60,000 acre feet.
Put it into perspective, is that a lot? Is that going to be something that really helps you out, of course, for the city and across Southern Cal?
Right. So unfortunately, it's not so much
creating these green spaces, which could have other purposes as well, right?
Absolutely. So what we typically see.
The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Thanks so much for joining us. Really an intriguing program, right? Which, every little bit helps. It absolutely does.
And the name is catchy, Sponge City, right here. Let's make Los Angeles a sponge city. Now, we will get some much more needed rain later. Get this as the 5th largest wildfire in Texas. And now it is the 2nd. And that just happened over a matter of hours.
Amazing. And at this point, still 0% contained. So we can imagine that the acreage burn will continue to climb. And with that, we've also seen some power outage issues there in the Texas Panhandle. Hutchinson County there, that's just north of the Amarillo area. We're seeing power outages numbers here that are now approaching 4,000 in terms of customers. So that's also an issue that we're facing.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the smoke from the satellite. Not surprising considering how large it is, but you could see that smoke yesterday from satellite. And as the front came in too, that was interesting because it changed the wind direction and I think really helped expand this fire. We had winds from the west or south at first, and then the front came in and they changed to the north, the north.
So imagine firefighters fighting it. All of a sudden, the winds change, the fire's going in different directions. Very tough to fight that kind of fire. Relative humidity values, they are starting to go back down now. Drier conditions during the afternoon hours.
Lightning show pushes east. More spots will need to stay alert for some pretty strong storms and heavy rain, gusty winds. Maybe a tornado or two, especially across the mid-Atlantic and southeast.
We've got a line of thunderstorms stretching from Mississippi right up through the south into the northeast and Pennsylvania. Even thunderstorms are flaring at this hour.
And we've seen a few of those warnings pop up as well. We'll continue to track that. Right now, several families, though, are counting their blessings to have escaped last night's severe weather.
Live in Mundelein, Illinois, not far from Chicago, another spot that was hit hard by the storms. And Chris, you're in one spot. I saw some damage in other spots like in Geneva and Kane County. I mean, there were storms around, but not everyone necessarily got the damage.
Yeah, it was very isolated. And, that was, we didn't have the type of
snowfall first. Show you how much we are expecting to come our way. Look at this, 5 to 6 feet of snow in the Sierra. I was looking back at some of the records trying to figure out what was the max snow that we've seen here. Echo Summit had back decades ago, but they had a 5.6 feet snowfall, and that was one of the top amounts. So that just gives you a sense of the upper echelon of snowfall is what we're talking about here. Plus the moisture spreads out. It will get colder. We've got snow coming back to Jackson Hole. Just picked up 5 inches yesterday. There'll be more coming in. We've got 8 to 12, got numerous spots here across the mountains of Nevada, the Wasatch, and into Colorado. Some spots getting up over a foot. And rainfall, too, along the coast. We're talking 3 to 5 inches in a couple of spots. But you notice that we've got snow in the mountains along the coast. Snow levels will be dropping. And, we'll get snow all the way down, I think, to Lake Tahoe and Reno as well, at least a couple of inches. We're not talking about the feet of snow there. But the winds will be a factor for everyone. And that's really, I think, what's going to drive a lot of the big travel concerns and the reason why you need to be prepared to sit this one out and inside. We've got our big system out here, and you can see it already kind of making the deep dive, the trough and the pattern. This is the energy. It's going to dive over the Aleutians, come into the west, and once it does, it's going to bring a whole lot of wind energy here to California and really to coastal Oregon as well, but I think especially California will feel the brunt of this one. Tomorrow's forecast starts to go downhill. Friday's forecast is going to be the worst. The blizzard warnings are already posted. We could see winds of 100 miles per hour. I-80 will not be passable with this kind of weather. Other routes too, like 50, also going to be affected. We're watching as we see the rain come in and the snow just literally blast the region. And again, those snow levels dropping, but the peak amounts will be up above 5,000 or 6,000 feet. So I don't want everyone to think that they're going to get 5 or 6 feet of snow. That's going to be high up there. But the impactful weather, meaning the blizzard conditions, are going to be all the way down to lower elevations. So again, I-80 will be impacted. It's just looking at the whole broad expanse too. Yosemite will be affected. We're going to build up that snowpack, which, is running a little behind, although we've had plenty of moisture. I have to say the reservoirs are doing pretty good here in California. So see if this one kind of evens things out a little bit when it comes to the snowpack. Now, we also have a pretty wet weekend ahead in the south, Alex.
Yeah, we do. Southeast going to get a